Hey friends, I had a wonderful time last night recording with Into the Weeds and Toddy One Skip. The episode is about 2.5 hours long and it's up on Into the Weeds podcast channel. I've shared it on my community tab page so you can check it out there. I think it was a great conversation. We covered Dee Dee, Gypsy, Nick Godejohn, Fancy, Missouri, a whole lot of things. And some interesting information come out about the Chillicothe trip and some other things too. So I definitely recommend you take a look. But after we got done recording, it was getting late and I went to bed and I woke up this morning and Gypsy's new book has downloaded to my Kindle. So it's time for a dramatic review. So the drama actually starts with the author's note. It's from Gypsy Rose and it says, "Everyone considers my story to be true crime, but this book is a work of memory, my memory, and therefore is a memoir and not an outsider's investigation of my life or crime. The feelings and emotions evoked are accurate. While some of my childhood memories have faded, these have shaped my perceptions." This sounds like a straight up disclaimer to me right off the bat that I know people are going to call me out. The things in here are accurate, but this is how I remember it. What do y'all think? Okay, on chapter 1, she gets into talking about Dee Dee right away. It says, "When Dee Dee Blanchard was 24 years old, she gave life to me. When I was nearly 24 years old, I took life from her. I firmly believe that by doing so, I was saving the life that she had guarded with all her might, mine." All throughout this, Gypsy is framing her crime in the most dramatic way possible, in a way that she didn't even do quite so much on the Dr. Phil show or in her first book or everything, but we had a taste of what was to come with that Rolling Stone interview when it was, "My mother was going to cut my throat." So yeah, be ready for Gypsy drama, y'all. Gypsy drama. Okay, skipping ahead, Gypsy says, "After being incarcerated for 8.5 years, I've been learning how to navigate my life on my own, separately. My time served includes my combined imprisonment in 3 facilities. First, Greene County Jail, Springfield, Missouri, where I spent a little over a year. Then for a month, I was transferred to a prison for women in Vandalia until I was relocated to Chillicothe Correctional Center. Given all that time, and with the help of therapy, family, and friends, books, and my own writing, I have examined my life, actions, and relationships in great breadth and depth. At last, I've been given access to information, documents, records, and therapy sessions. I'm like a detective, noticing patterns, theorizing, having light bulb moments, making new connections. Still, while a year has passed since my release from prison, my scars, both emotional and physical, remain. The physical scars are like a track mark that mock my progress." We saw the diagram of the scars that came from Gypsy's hand. Okay, anyway. There's a lot of language in here where they try to evoke southernness and southern culture, and it's kind of hilarious because it's obvious that Gypsy doesn't really know what she's talking about, neither do the writers that are trying it as well. I'll show you guys an example at the end of this from Released, and we'll come across some more here. Anyway, she says, "The natural Louisiana sunlight that streams into my bedroom is far more forgiving than the harsh fluorescent lights of Chillicothe Correctional Center." Her ring light's probably more forgiving too, mine sure is. "In the warm light, my scars are less jarring than I have found them to be in the past, or maybe time is softening the marks on my body." Again, we saw that diagram that she drew of her scars. "For all the trauma inflicted on my body since childhood, it's the scar that isn't there that always travels with me. The scar that otherwise would have been there if I hadn't asked Nick to kill my mother. People really want to know what was the final straw. When was the moment when I decided it was her or me? Here you go, y'all, on page 3. 1 month before the murder, my mother tried to cut my throat. At least that's how I saw it. The voice of concern suddenly was my voice. The cause of concern suddenly was my voice. It's so high-pitched. It's so squeaky. My mother complained to my ear, nose, and throat specialist. I thought my voice was distinct. We know Gypsy likes her voice. She loves it. Like my uncommon name, Or maybe it was a family trait to be proud of. We both knew women on my mother's side with very similar high-pitched voices. Besides, Nick said that my childlike chirp was sexy, so I didn't understand the issue. There's a lot to unpack there. I'll let y'all handle that in the comments. There's nothing wrong with my voice, I said, like a whimper with a whimper, as she pushed me in my portable wheelchair to the parking lot where our car was parked. You heard the doctor. That voice of yours might mean there's a problem with your larynx. Am I saying that right? Is it larynx? Correct me in the comments, y'all. And that problem could be causing your sleep apnea, she said. Her word was final. No matter my sassing, we were going to go ahead. In fact, by this point, the entire ruse had been up between us for a while. I was 23 and had tried to run away twice. I'd shot her with a BB gun. She'd chained me to the bed. I was getting older and much harder to control. The older I got, the more physical and harsher her punishments became. I do believe that Dee Dee probably did a lot more physical control, maybe ABUSE, IVE or not, I don't know. But I do believe that Dee Dee did start panicking some as Gypsy got older, and she couldn't as easily physically manipulate her or anything, into the fraud like before. And Gypsy, she knew she had to get Gypsy to decide to do it with her. I think that really panicked Dee Dee a lot. Oh, man. She stopped letting me use my custom-made Jazzy HD power wheelchair because she couldn't control it. I sensed she was becoming more erratic, more desperate. I did wonder about that back in the day because it was a big deal when Gypsy got that wheelchair. Her and Dee Dee always did a lot of press about everything. I mean, when I tell y'all, Gypsy being a public figure, this is not new to her. Dee Dee never trained her to be anything else but a public figure of sympathy. To be taken care of by the public for money because, so pitiful, so pitiful. Y'all, I trailed off a little bit there. What I meant to say was that I remember seeing Dee Dee pushing Gypsy in a wheelchair after she had got the motorized wheelchair and wondered why. And to be honest, that's what I'm seeing as I'm reading this book. Oh, I'm so pitiful. Yeah. Only now do I see that her back was against a wall. The lie of the life she had created could have gotten her thrown in jail on a list of felony charges as long as the bayou. Y'all, long as the bayou. The bayou is a big area. Any bayou is a pretty decent sized area. But I don't know of anyone calling it long. Maybe I'm wrong. Somebody correct me. I've lived on the Gulf Coast before, but I hadn't heard that. Okay, a jail on a list of felony charges as long as the bayou, y'all, long as the bayou. Her watchful eye grew keener as the possibility of me standing up or speaking out became more plausible. Oh, okay, so everybody's always asking Gypsy why she didn't just stand up or say something. Now Gypsy's writing that Dee Dee was scared that she would stand up or say something. That's not something I think we've heard from Gypsy before. Y'all ever heard Gypsy say that? Let me know in the comments if you have, please. We had achieved an unspoken standoff. I knew she was a lying, manipulative criminal. She knew nobody would believe me. If she knew nobody would believe you, then why do you think she was scared of you standing up or saying something if she actually thought nobody would believe her? Okay. Her carting me off in search of a new surgery, I believed, was her attempt to secure control. When the pulmonologist spoke to my mother, it was as if I wasn't in the room. Why don't we do an exploratory surgery on her larynx, he suggested. It's a simple operation of the voice box. We'll get to the bottom of any respiratory or vocal abnormalities. Now, I don't have a ton of experience with child surgeries, but I have heard of doctors being willing to do exploratory surgery based on parents' concern. It's a thing I've heard of in the news before and stuff like that. I don't have any experience with it myself. What about y'all? Have you heard of this? Is this reasonable or plausible to y'all? Because it's not something I have the experience to really have an informed opinion to commentate with. So all I could do is read it to y'all, snark a little bit about Gypsy, get dramatic. Okay, Gypsy says, I turned to my mother. That sounds like it hurts. I don't want it. I don't want to do it. Tears didn't form. Rage did. My mother put her arm around my shoulder and pressed it close, a signal to be quiet. Now here's the the super dramatic part. Gypsy says, I've thought a lot about my heightened reaction in this very moment. You know, the neck is considered to be the most vulnerable part of the human body. Of course, I didn't make this connection while sitting in the doctor's office. I think your ghostwriters made that connection. But I do think we are wired to defend our most vulnerable parts. The muscles and blood vessels and nerves in the neck are easily strained and damaged. The scars on my neck from previous surgeries, especially the one on my salivary glands, were so pronounced because the skin on the neck is very thin. I hate to overdo the parallels. Blame it on the therapy. We're blaming it on your ghostwriters, Gypsy. But so many of the medical manipulations and interventions that I went through concerned the part of me that allows for expressions of truth. She muzzled my mouth shut at night with the CPAP. Muzzled? Okay, come on. She numbed my mouth with Orajel, so I drool and slur. She was responsible for my teeth falling out due to side effects from superfluous medications. Okay, so on the teeth thing, there's been a lot of evidence brought out that I don't know the source of. May or may not be wrong, but the theory is that Gypsy lost her teeth due to milk rot. I don't know, and probably the Pediasure in the bottle until she was way too old to be doing that, but that's what I've heard. Now, I will say I believe the Orajel story. I believe that just because of observing the way that Dee Dee wheeled Gypsy around and wanted all the sympathy possible. I'm not sure I believe that Dee Dee would have ever done anything that could actually hurt Gypsy, but Orajel to just numb up her gums, make her drool, and really get the sympathy and the griff going, make her sound like she can't form her words. I can see Dee Dee doing that. I just can. Not cool. Okay, then Gypsy says, despite my recent awakening to the reality of my life, it was here where I truly feared the scope of her malice. This surgery was completely unnecessary, exploratory, the doctor called it, while all the other surgeries also had been unnecessary. This was the first occasion where I was privy to my mother's recklessness before the damage had been done. Do y'all believe that? Y'all believe that? I don't remember. I mean, her story's changed so much. How could we go by anything Gypsy said? But she said a few times about when the con was up for her in her mind. And she's always mentioned pretty young. So how was this the first time that she was suddenly scared? Like, to make everything so desperate? What do y'all think? Mama, what if they cut me wrong and I lose my voice and I can't talk? I don't think she would have minded that at all. We ignored each other on the car ride home. I looked out the window. The world, hang on, let me switch screenshots. The world passing me by more quickly now, hazier. She steered the wheel, radar-like, navigating back to the darkness of our house. When we entered the door, she went one way and I beelined it to the blue medicine basin. Her pills weren't there. Waiting for her to cross the room, without words, I rolled to the bedroom, which was suffocated with stuff. Yeah, we saw that house. I didn't have to rummage too far to find the pill bottle somewhere beneath the mess of clothes and kid costumes hand-me-down from well-meaning strangers. Well-meaning? Y'all begged for that stuff. Literally begged. I shook 3 oxycodone into my mouth and swallowed them dry, drenched in disillusion. I was just another thing she hoarded. Gypsy talks about that oxy addiction so much. I just wonder when is the advocacy for oxy addiction going to happen? Seems like a thing that she should do. Nadatha has been calling her out on it. Happy to see that. Okay, we're coming to the end of chapter 1. I'm going to break this into a lot of parts because, like I said, y'all, I can't save a very long video at once. I'm working on it. I hope this audio is decent. If not, y'all tell me how much you hate it in the comments. Everyone does. It's all good. Okay, so Gypsy says, high and numb now, I craved the fantasy world Nick and I lived in, so I messaged him. Nick and his kink world of ghastly rules was my haven, where I could let him act out anger on me that I did not myself know how to express. Do you remember when you told me you protect me from people who want to hurt me? I asked Nick. Yes, darling. Will you still protect me? Yes, Nick answered. even from my mother. Yes. All right, y'all. That is the end of chapter 1 of our dramatic review. Chapter 2 coming up soon. Okay, y'all, this is from Gypsy's first book released, and this is what I was saying I would cover at the end, where the attempt at forced southernisms just is really weird. Now, somebody correct me if I'm wrong here, but like I said, I've lived in the Gulf Coast. I'm familiar with the Deep South, and a summer rain in the Deep South is not cringing. That's hurricane season, y'all. What do y'all think? Okay, the drama actually... Oh, crap.